Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelove, and this is Speedplay Netherlands number 21. We left off having just declared war on Milan, bringing in Spain and Austria. First things first, we're going to send our entire army against the Austrians, as we just recently fought a war against them, so hopefully they won't have anything resembling a significant army. Immediate impression is that that is completely correct. There don't appear to be very many Austrians whatsoever. The Milanese are becoming a bit of a problem in Italy, however we do have the French on our side. The Milanese are coming up and attacking our army in Austria. We do get stack wiped, and that is just a terrible disaster. Reinforcements come in, but it's too slow. The French attack, and we go in to support the French, winning us a subsequent engagement. A lot of our men were killed in that, which is a terrible setback. Luckily, we've already sieged out Vienna, so hopefully we'll just be able to carpet siege the Austrians rather quickly, and once we're through with them, we'll be able to turn our entire focus against the Milanese. There are a series of things that aren't going very well for us. However, at this point, we do defeat the Milanese in pitched battle, and it looks as though we won't actually have a terrible disaster on our hands. Immediately, I find out what we can get from Austria, and from now on, it's just going to be us sieging them out until they're willing to give it up. Now, since Austria is a co-belligerent, is not a co-belligerent, we aren't able to get very much, just around 4 provinces. However, I'm pretty sure that is a decent number of provinces to get, and ideally we'll just be able to declare war against another one of their allies later on. At any rate, with our forces more or less out of Austria, we're able to launch an attack against the Milanese. Unfortunately, they are dug in pretty heavily in the Alps, and that mountain debuff for our attack is going to do a lot of damage to our armies. Luckily, we just outnumber them enough, and perhaps our troops are a bit better than theirs, that we just destroy them in the battle and can follow up. Now, I don't really have enough men to feel comfortable just pressing our advantage, so we're going to cling back a bit and just maintain where we are. There are still a few Milanese and allied forces just hanging around that we can easily overpower, so that's basically just going to be the plan for the near future. And we do just bring in overwhelming force, as realistically, if you have the ability to bring in overwhelming force, you may as well. Now, the Ottomans do join a coalition against us, which may very well be a problem in the future. And really, most importantly, we just got this peace deal with the Austrians. We begin to core the provinces. France's opinion of us, however, is put into the negative. We pay them off almost 2,000 ducats in order to get them back to a positive opinion of us, and essentially just maintain our alliance at least until the end of this war. Now, what we would maybe be able to do is give the French a few territories in order to placate them a bit. We have a few rebellions going on, and that takes a lot more precedent as to just something we need to take care of right away. We do send an army up from Italy, which does manage to defeat the 2 rebellions we have. However, we are over 100% overextension because I am dumb and didn't realize that taking those 4 provinces from Austria would put us over the edge. And unfortunately, 2 of the provinces that we were almost done coring are sieged by rebels up in the north. Luckily, we send a force over to deal with that, and we do manage to defeat them with relative ease. However, all of the territories we've just gained from Austria are just filled with rebels, which is a terrible problem. Luckily, the French appear to be on their way to deal with that. Meanwhile, the Milanese no longer really have any significant force in the field, and it looks as though the war is almost about to just wind down to a very successful conclusion. Now, it seems to be a pretty common tradition that at the very first battles, I really overestimate our forces and just get completely wrecked before ultimately coming to just dominate through the sheer power of our country. That isn't very much ideal, however, in this case it did work out for the best. Another concern that we have, though, is that our colonial nations are very, very close to declaring independence. At the very least, they are above 50% desire for liberty, and that could very well be a problem in the near future. So with that in mind, I'm going to have to actually invest in diplotech and administrative tech, as well as probably build up a series of heavy ship navies in order to just suppress those the North American countries a little bit more. Meanwhile, the war is almost completely wound down, and we can make peace as soon as we finally finish this one siege in northern Italy. Unfortunately, we can't demand to annex the country whose capital we're sieging right now until we siege it out, because they're not the war leader and it's a coalition war. Now, a very unfortunate thing, though, is if we take even something as low as maybe 20 or so % war score, the French will just hate us. It will push them so far into the negative relations-wise that no amount of gifts or subsidies or improving relations or anything will make up for it. So what we're going to do, first of all, we defeat our rebellions in Africa, detach forces to siege the provinces back, and send our forces back up. And now, all we really have to do is drag the war on long enough for a few things. One, hopefully the French armies will die in the Iberian Peninsula, weakening the French quite a bit. And two, we need to get that group of transports back up from Africa and land, which we just managed to do. So with that all done, we make peace. We sell Sweden the one province that we haven't cored up there. We'll sell them the other when we get another moment of peace. However, right now, the main concern is one, to get ourselves under 100% overextension, which we do by selling lands to Italy, or just granting lands to Italy. And two, now that France has declared our alliance null, we declare war on them immediately. Essentially, we cannot have them join the coalition against us. That is just completely impossible to deal with. The Ottomans and a few other countries are in it, so we declare this war. We smash their army, taking significant losses in our initial force. However, at this point, the French just fought a very major war, admittedly on our side, which we've kind of made very apparent was a very bad move on their part. At any rate, the French should hopefully be as weak as they ever will be, and we begin the attack. We've already won one very major battle, and now it's just a matter of keeping our forces as close together as we possibly can in order to just avoid any disaster. The French do appear to be coming up to attack Paris, so we bring all of our available forces to defend, and we do manage to successfully defend our forces sieging Paris. We do take quite a few casualties, however, we do have a slight manpower surplus, which is pretty rare for us, and hopefully means that this isn't going to be too much of a disaster. Now, Italy is facing rebellions. I had hoped that we would get both ourselves and them under 100% overextension. I'm not entirely sure if I got them under. The French attack us once more. Luckily, we do defeat them yet again. And with that all said and done, I consider a few methods to get our army in a better spot. I end up just detaching 14,000 artillery and sending them over to either lead our client states or join one of our other armies. I basically split them in half to do both. Now, with this all said and done, we have sieged Paris, and we're essentially just moving forward throughout. We get a new election as we have an event that pushed us more towards the statists. However, our new leader is significantly worse than our old one, but you win some, you lose some. At least now we'll get elections every 4 years and we'll be able to keep deciding. A large French army, probably the largest one left, is attacking our lands in the Italian region. We send our forces down to deal with them. It is a bit of a mess, however, we do end up winning. I am actually incredibly upset by the sheer number of battles we've fought attacking people in the mountains. However, it just seems to be where the enemy armies go, and as long as we have significant superiority in numbers, I feel no reason to deny battle. There was another battle in the north of France, however, at this point, the French army is just a shadow of its former self, and it's really all over except for the occupations and maybe just stack wiping a few new groups. Other than that, I can't imagine we'll face anything more than a few separate mercenaries that rise up. We also get a colonial nation over in New Zealand, which we just give a vaguely Dutch name and move back to the conflict in Europe. And once again, at this rate, we've essentially won it. We just need to prevent the French armies from running around behind our lines and sieging out a few territories. We do finally build those 30,000 or those 30 heavy ships. We now have 3-deckers, so we may as well. And hopefully, by building those ships, we will prevent our client states or our colonial nations from rising up. Unfortunately, the Ottomans have declared war on us. It's a coalition war, bringing in Scandinavia, Poland, Lithuania. Luckily, the Muscovites join on our side. However, we are still pretty heavily invested in the French region, so we don't have the ability to get the majority of our forces over to the actual front. Now, luckily, we have a lot of client states basically on the border with anyone who matters, so the coalition armies are going to have to go through our client states to actually get to the Netherlands proper. That isn't exactly ideal. I did, however, make Italy a march just before declaring war on the French, thinking that it may have been a much harder fight. And while the French weren't, it looks as though that decision is going to pay dividends, as now we have to fight a coalition of quite a few major powers. Now, we do start building up our forces against the Ottomans directly on our border. There is a significant issue going on in northeastern Europe. However, that is not really the problem at the moment. We do stack wipe a full Ottoman army, which is fantastic news. And at this point, we're just going to send our forces to attack any enemy army that looks as though it's separated from the rest of the pack. We go in and attack from multiple angles against this enemy army attacking Berlin. They bring in a significant amount of reinforcements. This is the largest battle I think we've fought all game. Luckily, we do win it. Now, it wasn't entirely decisive. However, that does add a bit to our war score, and it means that we have the initiative for future attacks. However, they do end up attacking us, weirdly enough. Luckily, they come in piecemeal, and we win a couple battles as they flow in. With that all said and done, however, we are at around that time. The French, we will see what we can get from them in a peace deal, and while we'll easily get to 100% overextension, my main goal is going to be to just destroy the French as a nation as much as we possibly can. However, we're going to end up having to finish the war with the French, and hopefully conclude this coalition war successfully coming next time. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We've gone very far, and it looks as though we have no choice but to go much further. Thanks very much again for watching.